Lyddie, Chapter 9, The Weaving Room, Part 2. We're on page 68, the third paragraph. Diane's boarding house was only 2 houses away from her own. The architecture was identical, a 4-story brick building lined with rows of windows that blinked like sleepy eyes as lamps and candles were lit against the dusk of an April evening. The front door was unlocked, so she walked into the large front room, like Mrs. Bedloe's, nearly filled with 2 large dining tables, but with the semblance of a living area on one side. And just as in Mrs. Bedloe's parlor, chairs had been pulled away from the tables, and girls were chatting and sewing and reading in the living area. It was as noisy and busy as a chicken yard. Peddlers had come off the street to tempt the girls with ribbons and cheap jewelry. A local phrenologist was in one corner, measuring a girl's skull and preparing to read her character from his findings. Several girls were watching this consultation, transfixed. Lyddie pushed the door shut, but stood just inside, uncertain how to proceed. How could she ask for Diana when she wasn't even sure of her proper name? But she needn't have worried. Out of the chattering mass of bodies, Diane rose from her chair in the corner and came to where Lyddie stood. She smiled, and her long, serious face creased into dimples. "I'm so glad you came. Let's go upstairs where we can speak," in something less than a shout. What a relief it was to climb the stairs and leave most of the racket 2 floors behind. There was no one else in Diana's room. "What a treat," Diane said, as though reading Lyddie's mind. "Sometimes I'd sell my soul for a moment of quiet. Wouldn't you?" Lyddie nodded. She suddenly felt shy around Diane, who seemed even more imposing away from the looms when her lovely, elegant voice was pitched rich and low like the call of a mourning dove. "First, we need to get properly introduced," she said. "I'm Diane Goss." She must have noted a flicker of something in Lyddie's face, because she added, "The infamous Diane Goss," and dimpled into her lovely smile. Lyddie reddened. "Oh, so you've been warned," said Diane. "Not really." "Well, then, you will be. I'm friend of Sarah Bagley's." She watched Lyddie's face for a reaction to the name, and when she got none, tried another. "Amelia Sargent? Mary Emerson? Huldah Stone? No? Well, you'll hear those names soon enough. Our crime has been to speak out for better working conditions." She looked at Lyddie again. "Yes, why, then, should the operatives themselves fear us? It is, dear Lyddie, the nature of slavery to make the slave fear freedom." "I'm not a slave," Lyddie said, more fiercely than she intended. "You're not here for a lecture. I'm sorry. Tell me about yourself." It was hard for Lyddie to talk about herself. She had no practice. With Amelia and Prudence and Betsy, she didn't need to. They, especially Amelia, seemed always to be telling her about herself or trying to make her like themselves. Besides, what was interesting about her? What would someone like Diane want to know? "Well, there's Charlie," she began, and before she knew it, she was explaining that she was here to earn the money to pay off her father's debt so she and Charlie could go home. Diane did not smile ironically or laugh as Betsy was sure to. She did not once lecture her as though she were a slow child the way Amelia often did, or offer a single explanation as Prudence would have felt obliged to. No, the tall girl perched on the edge of a bed and listened silently and intently until Lydia ran out of a story to tell. Lyddie was a bit breathless, never having said so many words in the space of so few minutes in her life, and then, embarrassed to have talked so long about herself, she asked, "But I reckon you know how it is with families, eh?" "Not really. I can hardly remember mine. Only my aunt, that kept me until I was 10. And she's gone now," said Diana. Lyddie made as if to sympathize, but Diana shook it off. "I think of the mill as my family. It gives me plenty of sisters to worry about." But she said, "I don't think I need to worry about you. You don't know what it is not to work hard, do you?" "I don't mind work. The noise." Diane laughed. "Yes, the noise is terrible at the beginning, but you get accustomed to it somehow." Lyddie found that hard to believe, but if Diane said so. "And I don't suppose you think a 13-hour day overly long?" Either. Lyddie's days had never been run on clocks. "I just work until the work is done," she said, "but I never had to leave go paying calls in the evening before." And the wages seem fair? I ain't been paid yet, but from what I hear. What did you get at the inn? Oh, I don't know. 50 cents a week, I think. They sent it to Mama. Tryphena said the mistress was likely to forget as not. I suppose Charlie... Lyddie stopped speaking. Neither Charlie nor her mother knew where she was. Is something the matter, Lyddie? I haven't wrote them. Charlie nor my mother. They don't know where I am. Suppose they needed her. How would they find her? Lyddie felt the panic rising. She was cut off from them all. She might as well have gone to the other side of the world. She was out of their reach. When will they pay me? If it's paper you need, it's postage too. I have to prepay. They don't have the money to pay at the end. I could manage postage. I can't borrow. I borrowed too much already, said Lyddie. But Diane quietly insisted. Lyddie owed it to her family to let them know right away, she said. She brought out paper, pen, and ink, and a sturdy board for Lyddie to write upon. Lyddie would have felt shy about forming her letters so laboriously in front of Diana, but Diana took up a book and made Lyddie feel as though she were alone. Dear Mother, you will be surprised to know I am gone to Lowell to work. I am in the weaving room at the Concord Corporation. I board at number 5 if you write me. Everyone is kind and the food is plenty and tasty. I am saving my money to pay the debts. I am well. I trust you and the babies are well too. Your faithful daughter, Lyddie Worthen. It seemed extravagant to take another sheet to write to Charlie, but Diane had said that she ought to write to him as well. Dear brother, do not be surprised. I am gone to Lowell for a factory girl. Everyone is kind. The work is all right. But machines is noisy. Believe me, the money is good. I will save and pay off the debts so we can still hop. Ha ha. Your loving sister, Lyddie Worthing. P.S. I am at Concord Corporation number 5 if you can write. Excuse all mistakes. I am in great hurry. She folded the letters, sealed them with Diane's wax, and addressed them. And before she could ask further about posting them, Diane took the letters from her hand. I have to go tomorrow anyhow. Let me mail them for you. I'll pay you back as soon as I get paid, she sighed. As soon as I pay Tryphena. No, said Diana. This time, it's my welcoming gift. You mustn't try to repay a gift. The bell rang for curfew. We haven't looked at the silly regulations, Diane said. Well, maybe another time. Diane walked her to number 5. It was a bright, cool night, though in the city the stars seemed dim and far away. Until tomorrow, Diane said at the door. I'm obliged to you for everything, Lyddie said. Diane shook her head. They need to know. They'll worry. The roommates were already getting into bed. You're late, Amelia said. I come as soon as the bell rung. Oh, you're not really late, said Betsy. Amelia just doesn't approve of where you've been. It was Diana Goss, wasn't it? Amelia asked. Yes. And? Lyddie was taking off her bonnet, then her shawl. And what? What did Amelia mean? Amelia answered her own question. Did she try to make you join? Lyddie folded her shawl, still uncomprehending. She means, said Betsy, did she tie you up and torture you until you promised to join the Female Labor Reform Association? Oh, Betsy, said Prudence. She never mentioned such, Lyddie said. She made her way around Amelia and Prudence's bed and trunks to the side of the bed that she shared with Betsy. She sat on the edge and began to take off her shoes and stockings. Then what were you doing all of that time? Betsy slammed her book shut. What affair is it of yours, Amelia? It's all right, Lyddie said. She had no desire to get her roommates stirred up over nothing. She just gave me some paper to write my family to tell them where I was. Oh, Lyddie, Prudence said. How thoughtless of us. We never offered. No matter, Lyddie said. I done it now. She's devious, Amelia muttered. You have to watch her. Believe me, Lyddie, I'm only thinking of your own good. Betsy snorted, reached over, and blew out the candle as the final curfew bell began to ring. And that is the end of Chapter 9, Part 2.